Welcome to TechShark, bite-sized news for conservatives surfing the net. Whenever I talk about big tech censorship, I see people proudly say in the comments on social media that they don't use mainstream social media platforms or that they've stopped using social media altogether. But is that the way to go? While I think it's great to populate new platforms where we can speak without a filter, I argued that we absolutely need to stay on legacy platforms as well, where the next generation of our country's leaders will be found. In short, yes, Twitter is infamous for censorship. I get it. But Twitter is the place where conservative commentators can publicly debate the worst of the left and the establishment in a way that legacy media would never allow. Twitter is one place where young, technologically aware people who are going into the professional world can see conservatives speak directly without a media filter. While I hugely support alternative social media platforms, at present, you're probably not going to see conservative commentators spar with the squad on there. Social media is such a game changer because it can, at times, be an actual arena for the battle of ideas. That still happens, just not as much because of censorship. Compare that to school or to the corporate world where saying biological differences between men and women are real can get you canned. One of my favorite blogs was about how college professors were outraged with YouTube because it hosts people like Jordan Peterson, who teaches students to think for themselves. I myself, like many young people, learned about him from random clips on Facebook. I likely never would have heard about him otherwise. If there's one takeaway from me, I want you to remember it's this. We, as conservatives, have to tactically plan how we use social media, not just for ourselves and our own generation, but so that we can make sure there will be a generation of conservatives after us. There's a Roman phrase about how society grows great when old men plant the seeds for trees under whose shade they know they shall never sit. A good example of what I'm talking about is how conservatives hacked the national conversation via mainstream social media. That made Trump and the online grassroots movement possible. Lefties get nightmares about their college-age sons watching Ben Shapiro on YouTube and being turned into right-wingers. The left's premier tech journalist, Recode's co-founder Kara Swisher, condemned YouTube for allowing her son to watch Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro. When in doubt, figure out what tactical moves your opposition is actually scared of. The average lefty would rather we abandon the mainstream platforms, and that says a lot. Now personally, viewing online culture wars on legacy social media in 2014 made me get involved in conservative politics, where I previously did not care. Schooling, TV, job experience, none of those taught me to question the establishment or to get involved. Seeing posts and memes on mainstream social media platforms did. We've got a plan for the next generation, not just ours. Both new and older platforms are part of that. Looking back over the last decade, conservatives went online because of bias in traditional media outlets. Pioneers dragged the conservative movement kicking and screaming onto the internet. Now, conservative content creators are some of the biggest on the platforms, whether the CEOs like them or not. Will Witt addressed the question of whether we should rely on legacy social media platforms or totally abandon them on my show last May.
My opinion, again, just like I said with going to the universities, the media, Hollywood, and getting in there as a conservative, I'm against just creating a social media platform that's just for conservatives. It turned into a big echo chamber, and then it's just a bunch of conservatives in their echo chamber complaining about what the left is doing in their state or wherever, their community. And it's like, that's worthless. That's worthless to me. What we should be doing is staying on the social media platforms where everybody is, because we want to change their minds.
Founder and president of the Media Research Center, Brent Bozell, recently responded to multiple conservative leaders calling to abandon big tech platforms.
I think that we need to do both. I agree completely with you and with the senator, with the congressman, that we have to start populating new opportunities as they arise. But we can't leave the field to the left. On the existing platforms. You've got 2.7 billion Facebook fans out there. Now, Zuckerberg will say there's 2.9 billion. But that's what the number that you have worldwide. And this this censorship is taking place worldwide, where our value proposition is being censored. So I don't want to leave the field to have 2.9 billion people be indoctrinated by the left. Same thing with Twitter and all the other sites. I think we need to stay on both, and I think we need to make a bigger effort to populate new ones, and we're doing that ourselves. But to populate new ones, so we can get to that point where we can tell the other ones to go fly a kite.
It's good to have our own payment processors to keep our businesses safe. It's good to have a home base where we can freely exchange ideas among each other. But if we want conservative ideals to shape the middle class and the future of the country, then we need to stay on mainstream legacy social media and build tons of new sites. Twitter is a place where entire social movements are sparked, right? Where politicians, activists, and corporations decide what causes you need to care about. We cannot afford to surrender the mainstream legacy platforms until the new platforms have themselves become mainstream. So let's support the free speech platforms as our home base, but don't surrender the battlefield of ideas. Thanks for watching TechShark, published every Monday from Free Speech America at the Media Research Center. Have a good week.